Oh, hello. Do you want to play Paper Commander with others but can't leave the house due to global pandemic, societal collapse, economic depression, or just the gripping existential crisis that keeps us homebound every day of our lives? Well, then have I got a solution for you. The Play EDH Discord channel is free online access offering unique Commander experiences for anyone with a Paper Commander deck and a webcam. The Discord curates power levels and helps you find someone looking for a game, so you can have fun with friends or just make a new one. Just go to discord.gg/playedh or click the link at the top of this video's description. Check out the Welcome channel to learn everything you'll need to know, from power levels to deck checks and how to start your first game. Make new friends and join games 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Play EDH Discord. This isn't a sponsored ad or anything, not #sponsored. I just did it so that people can play Commander. I just want people to play Commander, and this is the best way to play Commander because of World. So just go to the Play EDH Discord channel. Because of World! Mono Red in Commander is the place to be if you're feeling lucky. If you take a gamble on red and draw the right cards, you can be all set to dominate the board and bring down molten devastation on your foes. On the other hand, you can often end up faffing around with your tinderbox, bemoaning your decision to not add another color. Are you going to burn out like a failed academic, or rise like a phoenix from the ashes? In an attempt to shore up the odds, let's look at 5 ways you can increase the consistency of your red decks by capitalizing on what red can do. Though red is on the lower end of power when it comes to monocolored decks, it does have access to some blistering ways to break parity, and some great ways to end the game. Playing high stakes with mono red can often make our heart ache for more mana, so we're operating our mana base on a minimum waste and maximum joy ethos. Playing in a mono-colored deck already grants us access to cards like Gauntlet of Power and Caged Sun, and if we're feeling flush, we can add Gauntlet of Might to our build thanks to being in red. However, many Magic the Gathering players can't add Gauntlet of Might thanks to its ludicrous price tag. Instead, let's look at Mana Geyser. It's only about $1. Though red has access to plenty of other ritual effects like Battle Hymn, Seething Song, Desperate Ritual, and the new Iron Crag Feat, Mana Geyser has the potential for the biggest overall gains when it comes to pure mana generation. For 5 mana, we get to add red for each tapped land our opponents control. Though many people will bring up land destruction as the way to answer ramp decks, it's debatable as to whether that's the true answer. Either way, it doesn't matter. Let's take advantage of the ramp decks by hijacking that mana advantage for ourselves. Red decks love to capitalize on opponents having their shields down anyway, and it's rare that we'll try and win the game when the other players have a lot of mana open. Mana Geyser leans into this, easily netting us 15 to 20 mana for our investment, with the potential to add even more. This is more than enough to play multiple spells or even funnel that mana into a burn spell. Having 20 mana to put into Jaya's Immolating Inferno, Fall of the Titans, or Comet Storm is definitely where we want to be, and Mana Geyser will get us there faster than you could ever imagine. Of course, building our deck to take advantage of big mana plays means we'll need to consider other ways to generate mana too. Aside from other rituals which tend to make more sense in a combo deck, or one that's trying to storm off, we can have big turns by taking advantage of the following cards. Dockside Extortionist can make a boatload of treasure, and while admittedly he will also extort you for the privilege of playing him, he's a great option. Whether it's stronger tables with lots of mana rocks, or in the mid to late game once people are set up, this little goblin can do a lot of work. Another goblin that can help with big mana turns is Treasure Nabber. Borrowing your opponent's artifacts is a lot of fun, and being able to go up on mana every turn by taking their rocks is a definite speed boost. If you're pressed to make a play like your life depends on it, why not spend that life to accrue some mana? Treasonous Ogre asks 3 life in exchange for a red in your pool, but if played at the right right time can be just what you need. Consider also making an investment with Brass's Bounty. Making a treasure for each land you have might seem a big investment, but if you can take the turn to do so without falling too far behind, you just might be able to set up for a huge follow-up. Red has access to ways to copy spells on the stack, too, so whether it's a dual caster mage or a reiterate, you might be able to double up for maximum value. So what's to be done with all of this gold? Well, you can do a lot worse than Hellkite Tyrant, and having an alternate win condition is always a strong move. Even if your deck aims to win through combat damage or other means, having extra tricks up your sleeve can really benefit you. Alternatively, get Smelting with Hellkite Igniter. For 1 and a red, this hasty surprise can sometimes take opponents completely unaware. With a vast hoard of treasure and other trinkets on your board, it's not difficult to make Hellkite Igniter lethal out of nowhere. We can't touch on big mana without covering Neheb the Eternal, though. One of the more popular red commanders, Neheb rewards you for doing damage. Whether at the helm of a deck or in the 99, Neheb can convert your onboard resources into mana, and that's a really useful ability to have. If you're wanting to end the game on a big X spell, then Neheb deserves a spot in your deck. Having a lot of mana isn't worth much if you don't have any spells to cast, and so drawing cards is next on the agenda. There are plenty of options when it comes to filtering through cards, from Duretti Scraps Savant to Neheb Dreadhorde Champion, and everything in between. Red does have a lot of options. You can consider Impulsive Draw, too, like Chandra Torch of Defiance, and Outpost Siege. Impulsive Draw lets you gamble with your top deck, giving you only a short window to decide whether to play it, and needs a little forethought to play effectively. Keep in mind that when a card says you may play a card, that does include playing a land. You cannot cast a land. So if using Impulsive Draw, make sure to hold your land drop until you see what you get. Sensei's Divining Top is an excellent option if you're using Impulsive Draw. By rearranging the top 3 cards of the library, you can ensure that a land is exiled by Outpost Siege, choosing cons of course, and that the next card down is added to your hand. Every little bit helps. However, there's nothing quite like the wheel effects Red has access to, unless you count Windfall and Echo of Eons, and oh okay, I guess Blue gets to do that too. Awesome. Wow. Anyway, Red has the ability to pitch your hand and refill it, often back up to 7 and sometimes to more. This is a fantastic way to keep cards flowing and dig for answers or combo pieces, and we should be taking advantage of this effect as much as we can. The card I want to highlight here is another budget option, Knollspine Dragon. Knollspine Dragon can give us as many cards as we've dealt combat damage this turn. That's right, if we swing in with Neheb the Eternal, Lathless Dragon Queen, and Glory Bringer, burning away the only blocker using Exert, we can hit the opponent for 14 damage and draw 14 cards. How's that for some fuel for the fire? And what's more, if we're playing Neheb, we'd have 14 extra red mana in our second main phase to spend on all those fresh fueled cards, making Knollspine Dragon exceedingly easy to cast, and the cards we draw from it potentially castable too. Wheel effects are great, and while the likes of Wheel of Fortune and Memory Jar may be beyond many of us, there are other options. Reforge the Soul, Magus of the Wheel, and Dragon Mage are great alternatives. And cards like Commune with Lava and Apex of Power offer similar effects with some timing restrictions. Heck, Runehorn Hellkite can be activated from your graveyard, so you don't even have to worry about wheeling it away. Keep in mind that most wheel effects also wheel your opponents, which can be a downside to them. Knollspine Dragon will only ever draw you cards though, which is why I am so hot on it. Huh? Do you get it? Why I'm hot on you get it. There's no use running all of your sweet tech if you're too late to the party. When playing against more efficient low-to-the-ground decks or ramp-based strategies, it can feel frustrating to be playing a turn or more behind when you're stuck casting one spell per turn. It's a sour feeling and one that can be avoided with a little creativity in your building process. While a lot can be achieved by lowering your curve and playing the right amount of ramp yourself, what can truly make a difference in the creature-based red decks is haste. Don't listen to Treebeard. Being hasty is excellent. You already know this because I know you're listening to this video like all of my videos on 2x speed. Faster is better. So from the early game budget superstar crashing Drawbridge to the old faithful anger in the graveyard, Red has plenty of ways to add haste to the board. If you want to see the full potential of a hasty build, consider checking out this Chainer Nightmare Adept deck tech. It's not mono red, but it puts into practice the benefits of haste, like being able to slam an Inferno Titan in and get both triggers the same turn. Spicy. While red removal is often considered some of the most rigid and unwieldy removal available, there are some things you should know when it comes to packing the right removal. Red has some of the best spells if you know how and when to use them. Blasphemous Act, for instance, is one of the best board wipes in the entire game, and oftentimes it only costs 1 red mana. Talk about value. Now, it won't work every time, but when it's good, it's great. Similarly, a card like Chandra's Ignition in a vacuum can be difficult to make work, but in conjunction with prowess or equipment can rack up the damage very quickly. If you're constantly getting bummed out about Field of the Dead and there's a ramp player who almost always ends up the archenemy in your games, though, let me introduce you to Volcanic Offering. Volcanic Offering in multiplayer is a 5 mana removal spell that can remove up to 4 targets. If the other player disagrees on your threat assessment, or if you only have one opponent, then chances are it will only remove 1 creature and 1 land. But in every other situation, this card is fantastic. If a player is ahead, you can use it to take 2 of their lands and 2 of their creatures, putting things on a much more even footing. Otherwise, you can give the person you target the choice of what else to blow up. It's a great political tool and is a great answer to problem lands. I don't see many reasons not to run this in mono red. Gambling on mono red can sometimes leave you cleared out though. Even when you take all of my tips into consideration, there's the chance that you end up folding and losing all of your chips. Red is far from the best color for recursion, but it does have access to some great pieces. Trash for Treasure lets you swap an artifact in play for 1 in the yard, and Scrap Mastery is a living death for artifacts. If you're heavy into artifacts, then it's worth considering. Both of these are pretty niche though. Now Goblin Welder, that's more exciting. For 1 mana, this is a repeatable Trash for Treasure effect, and can even target an opponent's artifacts. This is ideal if you want to get rid of a Larry Niven's disc before it untaps, or even to bring your own disc back into play. The recent Goblin Engineer is another similar effect that'll even tutor an artifact into the bin. It's an inefficient way to tutor, but we're in red, so we'll take it. The best card for red in this category, though, is undoubtedly Underworld Breach. Yawgmoth's Will in red? Yes, please. Underworld Breach gives all non-land cards in your graveyard escape. The escape cost of 3 cards is equal to the mana cost, plus exiling 3 other cards from the graveyard. At the end of the turn, Underworld Breach is sacrificed. Though it's limited to 1 turn is all you need. At its floor, Underworld Breach allows you to buy back any card in your graveyard for 2 mana, plus the exiled cards. This can get you back a removal spell or a strong creature in a pinch. But that's just the floor. You guys want to know about the ceiling, right? Well, suffice it to say that Underworld Breach is at the heart of many combos in competitive Commander. Being able to use Lion's Eye Diamond to generate 3 mana in order to cast a Wheel of Fortune from the graveyard, only to cast the same cards again and again due to the graveyard being refilled, is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural. If you don't have a spare $500 though, there are still ways to take advantage of Underworld Breach. By using the aforementioned Mana Geyser to generate our mana and reforge the soul to draw cards, we can cycle through our deck in much the same way for a fraction of the price. Even just casting our creature and digging for a way to give them haste, like Urabrask, could be enough. Casting extra combat spells like Relentless Assault is a way to use this engine, as you can stack up extra combats in advance. Underworld Breach is a flexible tool and can be used as both recursion and as a way to build up the mana and cards needed for a big turn, a huge turn. The cards I've mentioned today, in particular Mana Geyser, Knollspine Dragon, Urabrask the Hidden, Volcanic Offering, and Underworld Breach, are all great includes in most red decks, and the many other cards you can use to build in and around them can lend themselves to some really satisfying strategies. Red is a color that can struggle with consistency, and though you'll never really iron that that out unless you add another color, you can still play to your strengths and increase the potency of the different aspects of your deck. Mana Geyser is only run in 25% of mono red decks according to EDH Rec, and Niheb the Eternal only 16%. So quit whining about green decks hogging all the mana and make some of your own in red. If you'd like to see a deck that puts this all into practice, then consider this Niheb the Eternal big mana deck that our very own script supervisor Kristen Gregory enjoys lighting up the stage with. I'll drop the link in this video's description. What are your favorite mono red synergies? Let me know in the comments below. Playing mono white? Well then set a fire in yourself to improve that deck by watching my video on how to improve white decks.